Hello, Anna Navarro. Hello,
Hello,
Cha-Cha.
Brian.
How are you doing today?
I'm okay.
All right, let's start with some politics because that's what people come here for with you. Let's start with the Oval Office meeting on Friday with Ukraine President Zelenskyy. You said this was staged. How do you think this will all play out?
First, let me tell you why I think it was staged.
Please. I've heard this from others
We're
too.
we're not seeing this in a vacuum, right? Like, think about all the things that have happened and continue to happen. So just a week before, the U.S. voted with Russia and Nicaragua at the UN regarding a resolution with Ukraine. The week before that, Donald Trump was calling Zelenskyy a dictator, words he refuses to use about the actual dictator, in this case, Vladimir Putin. So he shows up at the Oval Office. We all know what Zelenskyy wears to the Oval Office, to anywhere. That's what he wore to the Oval Office meetings with Biden. That's what he wore when he addressed Congress in a joint session of Congress. Because he is a man at war. He represents people who are tremendously, under tremendous distress and suffering, who are under attack. So
it's not an affectation.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't show. He doesn't show up in suits and ties. Not like Churchill didn't show up in a suit and tie in the 1940s during World War II. So that's the first thing that they pick on. I think they were trying to create a red herring to poke Zelenskyy. And then there was a journalist, a reporter, one of these new news outlets that they're letting into the Oval Office, who actually attacked Zelenskyy during this press conference there when they were both sitting there and said to him, "Why aren't you wearing a suit?" Can you imagine a reporter being that disrespectful, impromptu? And then,
with a world leader, it's a strange thing. Yeah.
It's a strange thing. It was a long, long press conference. It was something like 45 minutes, 50 minutes, very long before a meeting. And then you had J.D. Vance speaking out of turn. Nobody speaks out of turn at the Oval Office in front of the President of the United States. Nobody speaks unless the President of the United States asks you to speak. And so I think that was very strange. And I think certainly J.D. Vance, his purpose was to provoke Zelenskyy because they want to create a spectacle. They want to create a situation where their followers, who many of them have stood with Ukraine this entire time, are now feeling disrespected. They wanted to make this about Zelenskyy has disrespected the United States. Zelenskyy has not disrespected the United States. I saw a video this week of 94 times in the last 3 years when Zelenskyy has thanked the United States, the people of the United States, the Congress of the United States, the President of the United States for the support and help we have given. This is an excuse because Donald Trump wants to stand with Putin and take away the support of Ukraine. This is all about realigning the U.S. standing in the world. We are now attacking our allies. We are attacking Canada, attacking verbally and commercially, trade-wise, Panama, Canada, Mexico, Greenland, Denmark, you name it. You name it.
Yeah.
And showering Vladimir Putin, who is a dictator, who is a murderer, who is a thug, who unprovoked invaded Ukraine. This war would be over tomorrow if Russia stopped their incursion and invasion and bombing Ukraine. If Ukraine stops tomorrow, Ukraine ceases to exist. And so for some reason that I don't know, and I suspect someday we will know, Donald Trump wants to side with Putin, wants to give him all the power, wants to kowtow to him, wants to be aligned with him, and wants to legitimize and normalize Putin. Why? I don't know.
Now, I'm going to have to call you out on something here because when Secretary of State Marco Rubio was confirmed, you were very much in favor of it. You said, yes, this is a serious man who's going to do the right thing, who understands foreign policy. You've known him for years. He's sitting in that room. What do you think is going through his head?
Well, look at the video of him sitting in that room. I mean, I want us to play that video as I speak. First, he looks like a little boy whose legs are hanging and don't reach the floor, and he's sinking deep into the sofa. And he looks like a man who knows he has sold out every belief, every principle, every conviction he once had or pretended to have. Listen, Marco represents Florida, right? It's from Miami, the heart of the Cuban exile community, the Nicaraguan exile community, the Venezuelan exile community. He has spent his entire career railing against Vladimir Putin, railing against the influence of Russia in Latin America, talking against tyranny, standing up for freedom. Just a few, when he was in the Senate, he was one of the big allies and supporters of Ukraine. So what do I think? I think that Donald Trump has surrounded himself by people who will only say yes. And it is so sad to me. It is, I don't know that the word is disappointed. In Spanish, there's a term called vergüenza ajena. It means vicarious embarrassment, vicarious shame. I feel vicarious shame for Marco Rubio.
Do you think there's a chance that behind closed doors he's standing up for what he used to say? Is that possible? And he can't disrespect the president publicly, but when the doors close, he's saying, Mr. President, we need to do this, we need to do that.
What happened to Rex Tillerson when he spoke, the former Secretary of State, when he stood up to Trump? What happened to John Kelly when he stood up to Trump behind closed doors? Yeah. What happened to John Mattis, the general, when he stood up to Donald Trump behind closed doors? Marco and everybody who he has appointed to the cabinet in this term know and understand that if they stand up to Trump, Trump will fire them. Do I think he's standing up? I don't. And also, I don't think it makes a difference. I mean, I have a very hard time thinking he is standing up behind closed doors and then going into national media and berating Putin and justifying the treatment that we did of Putin. I will tell you, though, I think this, there's been many instances in the last month, but particularly in the last 10 days that have been straws that are breaking the camel's back. And I think this is one of the big ones. And you saw impromptu protests in Vermont where J.D. Vance was skiing. People are losing their fear. People are more outraged by the things that Trump is doing than they are fearful of the things that Trump can do to them. I think people feel just indignant, and there's this sense that we are abandoning Ukraine. We are abandoning our Western allies. I mean, it is jarring and shocking to see the images of Zelenskyy greeted by all our closest allies, right?
Yeah.
Great Britain, the King, Macron in France, Trudeau in Canada, Germany, all our closest allies are standing by him. And we are standing with Vladimir Putin? What the hell is happening?
Tomorrow night is President Trump's State of the Union.
I'm not going to watch.
I was going to ask, what are you expecting? Do you think it's going to be straightforward where he's touting his accomplishments? Do you think he's going to make grand sweeping new policy announcements? Do you think anything, is it going to be statesman-like? What do you think is going to happen?
Listen, the man's not been statesman-like once in his entire life. So, no, I don't think it's going to be statesman-like. I think it's going to be him feeding his narrative. I think you're going to hear Panama mentioned, and he's going to say Panama caved. He's going to say Canada caved. He's going to talk about the tariffs that he's going to impose on Mexico and Canada later this week, which are going to, I think, have a terrible effect on the economy. I think he's going to tout the things he's done. I think he's going to lie. I don't want to give him the numbers. You know what hurts him? And I know you tell me that it doesn't matter because of Nielsen and all of that, but I am not going to be tuning in. I will be following online. I will be reading online. I will see the clips afterwards because I think it's important to know, particularly for this job, my job at CNN. But I mean, I think the man is a liar. I think he feeds narratives to his followers that they want to believe and they believe. I think it's brilliant that Democrats are inviting fired federal workers as their guests to the State of the Union. I hope some of those fired federal workers are Trump voters, because it's not just Democrats or, libertarians or independents being fired. He's firing U.S. veterans who now have jobs or did at the federal government. It's just such a disgrace. Really, I honestly, I think about this all the time. I cannot believe the damage this man has done to America, to our economy, to our standing in the world in a month and a half. I can only pray for us of what's going to happen in 4 years. And that is why we as Americans have a duty to stand up. Like I've told you before, all of those accomplices, all of those silent cowards, all of those Republicans who just shake their heads at everything he does, who tweet out that they're sick to their stomach, but then vote with him. They have got to be more afraid of us as voters than they are of Trump. And so all of these folks going to town halls, folks showing up and protesting impromptu, folks calling their congressperson and telling them to stand up against this. 202-224-3121 is the congressional switchboard. Call, make a difference. There are things that we all can do. They have got to feel some heat. I think I think Democrats should have a running tally. Somebody needs to have a running, like a schedule of all of the town halls and all of the public events that congresspeople and senators are doing around the country, and people need to show up. And if they are hiding under their beds and not doing town halls, then show up at their offices and peacefully protest and hold them accountable. Ask the pointed questions. When you call a congressional office, usually the people, the receptionists taking the calls, keep a tally. They tabulate,
Sure.
Where this person is from, who they are, and what their comment is. So if there's thousands of people burning down the phone lines and telling them that we are embarrassed by them, telling them that we stand with Ukraine, telling them that we stand with the fired federal workers, telling them that the price of eggs is through the roof, you may think it doesn't make a difference. It does make a difference.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit to control your blood pressure. Let's talk about the Oscars. Whoopi looked amazing last night. I think we're all in universal agreement there. It was so much fun to see her there. What did you make of the night? You and I were texting through a lot of it.
Well, because I kept, I was on a plane, and I somewhere like 45 minutes, an hour into the flight, I lost the ability to see, so I could only listen, and then I lost
who was
that
winning the pool and
because
all
of
that.
Wi-Fi. Of the Wi-Fi, yeah. So you're like crazy competitive.
Yes.
And we have a pool here at the View, where tell them what we do.
Yeah, like everyone in every office place, I feel like we have pools for things like the Super Bowl and the Oscars, and I came in tied for second.
I don't think people in Miami do that. I think that's a very American thing. It's a cosa de americano.
Miami's American.
Okay, go ahead.
But so I got
white people think.
I got 16 right, and came in second, tied with others. Anna G from our team won. Congratulations, Anna G. But you did okay. You just went all Amelia Perez. That was your mistake.
I don't know.
think. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I am very happy that Zoe Saldana won.
Yeah, she was great.
I thought she was absolutely terrific, and her speech was so meaningful and significant. I didn't love Conan, and you were telling me you love Conan.
I'm very much in the Conan basket.
That worm playing
I love
chopsticks or whatever, you thought that was funny?
I thought that was funny. I thought when the worm came back and was playing the harp, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah.
In what universe is that funny? Like
in the Dune universe, I guess. But yeah, I enjoyed it. All right, now that you're mocking pop culture, let's move on to the real highlight of today. Let's talk about Celebrity Jeopardy, Anna Navarro.
Geez.
So at Celebrity Jeopardy, you've been on it before, and you famously beat Sunny Hostin, which we tormented her for years.
I will continue.
You went back on Celebrity Jeopardy. You were a contestant, and it aired last week. You were on it with Yvette Nicole Brown, our good friend, and David Friedberg, who I didn't know very much about, but he's a billionaire.
And
very
brilliant.
smart.
He's like some freaking, I don't know, he's like a nuclear physicist or something.
Incredibly
he's like,
smart.
Yeah.
You didn't win, Anna.
No.
You came in last.
The nuclear physicist won.
Yes, but you lost to Yvette, too. We have a clip of one of my favorite moments. Let's take a listen.
ABBA for 300.
In a 1979 song, it's the lyric that follows, "Gimme, gimme, gimme." Anna.
What is money?
No, I'm sorry.
You gotta be kidding me.
No, different song.
I'm not even on the board, girl. Calm down.
Gimme, 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 A Man After Midnight.
With money.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things you can't put a price on.
A Man After Midnight with money, Ken.
Now, you didn't do horribly, I have to say. It was really until Triple Jeopardy you were right in it. And then Final Jeopardy, you bottomed out.
Okay, this killed me because Okay, well, first let's for some reason I read a bunch of articles this weekend saying that I had threatened to walk
I
off
want to
the
talk
set.
about this. This is crazy. Even in the world of crazy false view rumors, this one, it says The View's Anna Navarro threatens to walk out during Celebrity Jeopardy rehearsals after a blunder. Is there any truth to this? What is this
Brian,
coming from?
Okay, how many years have I been on TV with you? I have never in my life threatened to walk out, and God knows I've had a reason to.
Fair enough.
On this show, I don't do that. Of course, I don't threaten to walk out. Listen, they are the loveliest of people at Jeopardy. This is super planned and super produced. They run this thing like a Swiss watch.
Yes.
This was filmed back in October. How am I going to walk out? Chacha was being held by Yvette Nicole Brown's fiance at the time. You think I'm going to walk out and leave Chacha? Of course you don't walk out on Jeopardy, not to mention that it is all for charity, right? I raised $30,000 for Maestro Cares.
Even though you finished with $0 on the show.
Even though I finished for
they still gave you
$0 for my humiliation,
yes.
embarrassment, and just complete failure.
Yes.
They were still charitable enough to give me $30,000 for Maestro Cares, which is an organization that helps needy children in Latin America and the U.S. It was founded by Mark Anthony, co-founded by Mark. So Jeopardy is always nerve-wracking to me, right? And two things. A lot depends on your knowledge, yes, but a lot depends on
So this is what Sunny's been saying for
the
years.
timer.
She's been blaming the buzzer, and we've all kind of laughed at her and rolled our eyes.
No, the buzzer thing
Okay.
is real, but then also strategy. And that's where I failed. I failed miserably. I mean, I failed at some of the questions, but I also failed miserably at the end. Because on that last question,
Yes, the final Jeopardy question.
yes, if I had bet zero,
You would have won.
I would have won. But and I should have bet zero
The
because the
category was
category
children's
was
books.
I don't have children.
No.
What in the hell made me think I was going to be able to answer a question about children's books? And then Yvette and the brilliant nuclear physicist, whatever he is,
You all got it wrong.
everybody got it wrong.
The
And
answer was The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which is, of course, a classic. You
a
texted
classic
me.
where nobody in
You
Latin
texted
America
me.
reads
You
that.
texted me instantly about it right after you lost. He's like, would you know the answer to this? And I knew it in seconds.
You did.
Because I've read it to my daughters a million times. I grew up with it too. It's been a book that's been around for a long time. I think you are at a disadvantage not growing up in America.
Well, first of all, my parent, people grew up in Latin America. I don't think my mother ever read to me. Maybe somebody else read to me. I don't think my mother ever read to me. And, you grow up with los pollitos cantan. You don't grow up with a very hungry caterpillar. I don't even know how to say caterpillar in Spanish. But if I had bet zero,
You would have won.
I would have won. And so that was my mistake, knowing, because you know what the category is before you
and
wager.
you know you're not going to know it.
Knowing that I know nothing about children's literature.
Yeah.
How was I so cocky and stupid? It was arrogance that killed me.
Well, the pop culture, there was a lot of it. There was one category just on sports movies. I was watching that. And I was like, I would have killed on this. I would have gotten every single one right.
I saw, what did I send you the other day where somebody was being asked, I think it was like a Watch What Happens Live episode or something. Somebody was being asked about pop culture
Yes.
people.
It was your worst nightmare.
That
you
was
said.
my worst nightmare.
Yeah,
And
they were
so,
quizzing you on things. Your lack of knowledge on pop culture is just my favorite thing in the world.
Did I do, did I get, because I didn't watch. I don't want to watch myself. This
Yes.
is too painful to watch. Me ending up with zero on Jeopardy is too painful to watch. Did I do well on anything?
Yeah, you got a lot of things right. And you were, there was not, I wouldn't say there was like one category you dominated. You picked around and you did a couple of different things like
Didn't
that.
I misspell broccoli?
You misspelled broccoli. No, you forgot to spell broccoli in the category where you were supposed to spell the word.
What
That's
did
what
I
happened.
say? I said broccoli.
You said broccoli, and they said, and then you didn't catch on the thing. It was like a gimmicky category. It's all right. It's all right. I mean,
I hate broccoli too. I hate children's books and I hate broccoli. What else?
Who dominated categories? That billionaire guy. He was amazing.
Shut up.
Sorry. All right. You saw the Buena Vista Social
Yes.
Club on Broadway. Tell me about that.
So, it is a show that's going to premiere March 19th. It is produced by, among others, Lin-Manuel Miranda and his dad, Luis Miranda. And the Buena Vista Social Club was a music club in Havana, Cuba in the 1950s. And these amazing songs and vibe and rhythm and singers came out of it. It's been very controversial in the Cuban
hold
exile.
on, we're getting a call.
Oh, for the love
We're
of
getting
God.
a call. Hello, Yvette Nicole Brown. How are you?
Hello, Brian. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can. You're here on the podcast right now with me and Anna Navarro, who I've been gently ribbing.
And Cha-Cha.
And Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha the dog is here as well.
Of course, Cha-Cha's there. Of course.
Yvette, how did you feel about your Celebrity Jeopardy performance?
I felt that I was very close to being a complete embarrassment. And the only reason I hung in there was because of Donors Choose. And I was like, come on, you can look stupid on television for Donors Choose. And, Anna was a bit of a ringer because she came in with little Cha-Cha acting like she had it all together.
Mm-hmm.
She had already been prepping. And then she said, well, I don't know how I'm going to do. And then she annihilated me in the first round. So
it was really
I saw you moving.
It was Triple Jeopardy where she fell apart.
I don't remember any of this, honestly, and I didn't watch it. But Yvette, so there's this rumor out there. Hi, Yvette. There's this rumor out there that got published and printed this weekend that I threatened to walk off the set.
Never.
Okay, that did not happen.
No, it did not happen. We all were joking about trying to get out of there because it was a tough, a couple of tough rounds, but she's a professional. She would never do that.
Not only that, but I was just telling Brian, your then fiance was holding Cha-Cha in the audience. I'm not going to walk out and leave Cha-Cha.
I believe you wouldn't leave the dog.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that she would, though, because Cha-Cha and Tony got along really well. But no, she never threatened me. She never did, never would.
Yvette, I have to call you out on something. You didn't know. Yes. You didn't know who Scarlett Johansson played in the Avengers movies. You were in an Avengers movie. How does that happen?
Let me tell you something. There is something that happens. I call it Celebrity Jeopardy or Jeopardy amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
Things that you know well. Because we did a practice round where the answer was MacGyver. And I call myself MacGyver all the time and could not grab it out of my brain. So I think your brain just goes crazy for a minute because of the weight of the moment. Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I'm very embarrassed.
I don't know how she remembers all of this because I don't remember any of this.
No, she blocked it all out. But it's very, I mean, your rage at getting things wrong, Anna, and you too, Yvette, was very entertaining.
I refuse to watch it. I refuse to see myself be embarrassed like that. And this is painful. Thank you, Yvette, and thank you, Brian.
Well, for those who missed it, you can catch it on Disney Plus and Hulu. Make sure you do. And I recommend it. And I think we'll be showing clips on The View for some time.
Oh my God, I haven't watched it either, Anna. If that makes you feel better.
And by the way, I'm an ABBA fan. That's one of the.
Oh, the ABBA fan was rough. Yeah, the ABBA was a rough category for you.
It was a rough game.
Yeah. Yvette, while we have you, is there anything you'd like to plug besides Donors Choose?
Yes, I'm on a great new show on BT Plus called The Family Business New Orleans. We've been promoting that everywhere, and Tony's great, and marriage is great, and I'm
newlywed. Yeah,
it was my 6-year anniversary yesterday. Believe me, have a lot of sex now because you're going to have a lot less in 6 years.
Noted. I think Tony will be very happy to get that note from you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for calling, Yvette.
My pleasure. Love you guys. I'll see you soon.
See you
Bye,
soon.
love.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
You're enjoying this way too much.
Oh, I really am.
I'm going back to the Buena Vista Social Club right now. Cha-Cha.
All right. Well, switching gears here, I want to ask because before we go, I know you had something you wanted to mention, something serious. You lost someone close to you.
Oh, one of my best friends. One of my best friends for so long. He was more than a best friend. He was a mentor. He was a hero, an inspiration. He was a former congressman from Miami. His name was Lincoln Diaz-Balart. And December of 23, I got a call from Lincoln. He served in Congress for 18 years. He was spectacular. He passed legislation that helped, probably the last major piece of immigration legislation that's been passed by Congress. NACARA and HARIFA were both sponsored by Lincoln, and it's helped hundreds of thousands, if not millions, exponentially when you take a look at their family of Nicaraguans, of Haitians, of Cubans, of Central Americans who much like now, were being deported and had no legal recourse. He was a voice for freedom all over Latin America and all over the world. He never sold out. He never compromised his principles. He never, ever forgot where he came from and who he was there to represent. And he called me in December of 23 and told me he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And that's a terrible diagnosis.
Yeah.
And he, he'd been not feeling well, and I had seen him a few times before that, and he hadn't looked good. And he hadn't been feeling well, and he'd gone to the doctor, and at first they thought it was prostate cancer, and of course they checked his prostate, and that was fine. And then they told him it was a UTI and sent him home with antibiotics, and it wasn't that. Anyways, for months this went on, and I tell that story because it's a reminder to everybody that you've got to be your best advocate. I mean, I can't believe this happened to Lincoln, a former congressman, incredibly connected, super, super smart, right. Hypochondriac. I mean, my God, this is not a guy who would let his health go, but they missed it. If they had done a scan, it would have been different. And I'm going to miss him the rest of my life. We laughed a lot. We talked a lot. Funny enough, we never talked about Trump. I don't want to know. I don't think he wanted to know where I stood, or he knew where I stood. I didn't want to know where
Everyone
he
knows
stood.
where you stand. Yeah.
His brother is in Congress now, Mario Diaz-Balart. His other brother, Jose Diaz-Balart, is a host at NBC, the weekend host of this news there, and has been on MSNBC. He's got another brother. It's just really, he was 70 years old. He had so much left, and he fought so hard. He fought it for almost a year and a half, and I'm heartbroken.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Heartbroken that I've lost Lincoln, that the world has lost Lincoln, that Cristina, his wife of 100 years, the love of his life, and Danny, his son. And when Lincoln called me in 2023 to tell me about this, I was devastated, because when somebody tells you stage 4 pancreatic cancer, you pretty much know it's a death sentence. And he had such faith, and he told me, not to cry and not to be sad, because he so desperately wanted to be reunited with his son, who had died by suicide about 10 years ago, and with his mother and his father. And I know he believed that till the very end, so that gives me some comfort. And I do believe that that they're together. He is in their embrace now. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, it's
Lincoln
a lovely
Diaz-Balart,
tribute.
he was amazing.
Yeah, look, everyone should look him up and see a little bit about the life he lived. Thank you for joining me today, Anna. Tomorrow we'll be back here with Sunny, and we'll see you then.